All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tuesday edition of the Steve Malzberg Show from our New York City studios. And we have a lot to get to. Governor Jim Gilmore running for president. He will join us. Christie attacked him. He's going to maybe attack back. Donald Trump attacked Christie and the union leader of New Hampshire, the newspaper which endorsed Christie. We got a whole shenanigan going on here with that. Also, the affluenza kid and his mom in custody in Mexico, headed back to the United States, where they're both going to be in a whole lot of trouble. We got that and more coming up in the panel. A new CNN poll, which is not good news for Obama, for Hillary, or for the anti-gun nuts. But I want to try to get these in real quick. From the religion of peace, ladies and gentlemen, a mob at a Muslim shrine in central Kabul in Afghanistan killed an Afghan woman who was falsely accused of burning the Quran. And now we go to Syria. In Raqqa, members of a female Islamic State brigade mutilated and butchered a mother who breastfed her child in public. I guess the water came away from their farms and they turned to terrorism and they decided to mutilate and kill women. Happens every day. It's global warming, you see. Watch Donald Trump, then Jim Gilmore.
There are many people that think that that endorsement, when Obama went to New Jersey, that endorsement was responsible for the loss of the Republican Party in Romney. I mean, it was certainly not good. Honestly, it was terrible. That was where they had the flood, they had the hurricane, and Obama went to New Jersey, and it was like, he was like a little child, Christie. It was like he was so, right? It was unbelievable. He was like a little boy. Oh, I'm with the president. Remember, he flew in the helicopter, and he was all excited to be in the helicopter. I said, I would have put you in my helicopter. It's much nicer.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so there's Donald Trump yesterday in New Hampshire, and we're going to have much more in the Gimme 5 segment at the end of the show on what Trump had to say about Christie. You're not going to want to miss it. But there he was attacking Christie in New Hampshire because Christie, of course, got the big newspaper endorsement. Joining us now is Jim Gilmore, former governor of the great state of Virginia, Republican presidential candidate and president of the Free Congress Foundation. Governor, welcome back, sir.
Good. Thank you, Steve, very much.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to you and your family. You have also hit back at Christie because he made a statement where he implied or came right out and said that you and Rubio haven't spent hardly any time in New Hampshire.
Yeah, I don't know why he felt like he had to do that. I've been much more interested in comparing my credentials to Christie when I've been campaigning in New Hampshire. I'm happy to do that. But he didn't have to take a swipe at me and compare me to Marco Rubio, particularly when his facts are wrong. My appearances in New Hampshire have actually been about 86 appearances over 14 trips. So to denigrate me and to suggest that I'm campaigning as little as Marco Rubio, I thought was inappropriate. He named me by name, and I just corrected the record.
All right. Well, now, so you say you have no problem comparing yourself to Christie. Why, for instance, are you more qualified or a better choice for the Republican Party than Christie?
Well, I mean, I think the topic of the day is really national security and this risk that we're seeing with these terrorist attacks. And while Christie was the United States Attorney during that period of time after 9/11, and I'm sure that his office did some things in looking over the potential dangers, I think that most of the newspapers are suggesting that's a bit of an exaggeration to suggest that he had his hands really into the terrorism issues, whereas, of course, I have. I chaired the National Commission on Homeland Security and Terrorism for the United States of America for 5 years. The work that was called the Gilmore Commission is still the Bible of Homeland Security for this country. I was the United States Army intelligence agent during the Cold War and addressed the issue of the nation-state challenges that we're facing today, and I was the governor during the 9/11 attack. He has suggested that he has talked to some victims of the 9/11 attack. Well, not only did I do that, I actually visited them in the hospital 2 days after the attack, while they were still recovering from the actual attack on the Pentagon. So listen, I have the real credentials here to deal with these issues. I don't have to exaggerate anything, and I'm certainly not going to put up with a guy like that trying to suggest that I'm not campaigning in New Hampshire or somehow I'm not as qualified as another candidate.
All right, fair enough. And by the way, When I interviewed him on WR Radio at the time, he refused to weigh in on the Ground Zero mosque that was being proposed to build. Of course, his affiliation and his affinity for people who have reputed terrorism links to keep them from being deported from New Jersey, not to mention Salal Muhammad, the judge that he appointed, who represented the Fort Dick 6 suspects and at the time said it has nothing to do with Islam, and he winds up appointing to that man to the bench. So there's a whole litany of things we could go into. Let's move on just a little bit here. You're running on national security, as you alluded to, veterans and guns. I want to skip to guns for a second. There's a CNN poll out today which shows that only 35% of the people think that Obama moved the country together. But there's also a segment there on gun laws, and it almost mimics the New York Times recent poll, which for the first time since they started doing the quote-unquote assault weapon ban poll, their recent poll showed that a majority, 51 or 2%, did not want that ban. And now 51% in the CNN poll say they do not want stricter gun laws. So notwithstanding the media hype and the media coverage and Obama's push and the left's push and the shootings we've had, the country still does not want more restrictions.
Because the country's wiser than the president on this. And listen, I'm not unsympathetic to people who are victims of these kinds of attacks. I have addressed these attacks before, and there are going to be more in the future. The question is, what is the proper role of the American citizen in a free society? The Second Amendment says that Americans can be trusted and responsible in carrying their own firearms. The American people understand that not only are they safe and responsible with firearms, but they're not going to be blamed because somebody either of the radical Muslim faith or somebody who's an irresponsible criminal misuses a firearm or a knife or a club or a brick or anything else. Americans understand this very, very well. As you know, Steve, I'm a member of the board of directors of the National Rifle Association.
Yep.
It's because I believe in Second Amendment rights for the people of the United States.
All right, let's move on to veterans. I hear the rhetoric coming from both Hillary and Obama, who I believe are married at the hip on so many issues that the public just is fed up with. And they talk about how, well, we're making progress with veterans. And, Hillary says we got to improve the veterans hospitals, not give, she specifically, I think, said not give them access to regular hospitals. I just think that they're both losers on this issue.
Well, how would either one of them know anything about veterans? I'm the only veteran in the race for the presidency of the United States. The president didn't go in having done any service in the military. Hillary Clinton hasn't done any service in the military. Bill Clinton hadn't done any service in the military. As a matter of fact, they were not exactly helpful during the 60s, as a matter of fact. But I am a United States Army veteran, and I understand this. And I know this. I know that we have to give our veterans respect within the VA system. I know that we have to have an actual organized effort to make sure that we don't see falsified records or disregard for veterans in the hospitals or substandard care or the unwillingness to recognize the real veteran-connected issues like post-traumatic stress syndrome, suicide dangers, Agent Orange, oil fire dangers. These are all issues that have got to be aggressively pursued, and they will be when I'm the President of the United States, because I am a veteran, and I understand, and I have a sensitivity to these concerns of my fellow veterans that, frankly, none of the other candidates have.
Governor,
not Christie, not Bush, not anybody else.
Very quickly, you mentioned Bill Clinton, so I'll just go there. And there's all kinds of debate right now. Is Bill Clinton, since Hillary's claims to be a champion of women, and she accused Trump of sexism, and she's bringing her husband on the campaign trail starting next week, is he fair game for what he did in his experiences with women?
Well, of course, if she brings him onto the campaign trail, then at that point, as the former president, he becomes an issue in the campaign, to be sure. Don't forget that when he ran for president, Hillary said, well, you'll get both of us. You'll get 2 for 1. And boy, we did. And now I think that they're getting ready to try to play that over again. I don't think the people of the United States are going back to that past situation. I think they want to move forward into somebody who actually has a proven record, truly competent, someone who's a United States Army veteran, understands foreign policy, and I'm that candidate, and that's why I'm going to be so aggressive in New Hampshire.
It is quite a resume, sir, quite a resume. And you want to give a website out to the folks real quick?
Absolutely, GilmoreForAmerica.com. That'll give you my position papers and an opportunity to donate, Steve.
All right, and that's very important. Governor, as always, thank you, and have a great holiday, great new year. We'll speak to you next year, sir.
Very good. Happy New Year to you.
You too. Governor Gilmore, ladies and gentlemen. Up next, the Malzberg panel, Kurt Schlichter and Christopher Hahn. Should be a doozy. Don't go away.